Welcome to Africa Big Business Party. Listen, imagine Africa as a huge neighborhood where every country is like a house. Now, before, if you wanted to trade with your neighbor, you have to jump over the fences, right? So imagine, you have to pay big tolls and follow complicated rules. But now with AfCFTA, stand for African Continental Free Trade Area, Africa is tearing down those fences and throwing a big business party where everyone is invited. The world is invited, man. Africa is open to the world. But what is trade? You know what trade is. It's basically just a fancy way of buying and selling things, right? So imagine you and your neighbor, let's say you have a bunch of fresh mangoes and your neighbor has a lot of bananas, right? So instead of both of you eating the same thing every day, over and over, you trade. You give them some mangoes and they give you some bananas and blah, blah, blah. So, and at the end of the day, both of you have more variety, and you're both happy, right? So now imagine this happening between entire countries. But instead of mangoes and bananas, it's car, clothes, technology, coffee. You get the grift, right? That's trade. And you know what trade is, So I think it's how businesses and country grow by shaping, what they're best at, with each other, with others. You know what I'm saying? You got good over here. I got good over here, good in services. So the AfCFTA is making this process easier in Africa. So businesses don't have to jump through hoops, just to trade with your neighbors. And I think that for U.S. businesses and investors, it means it's your new chance, like a brand new chance to join in, man. I think bring your product from the U.S. And find success in Africa, booming marketplace, right? But what is AfCFTA, right? So it's basically at the end of the day. Let me sit down. Let me grab the chair. Uh-oh. Gee, I can't ever sit down. Trying to give an explanation. So, sorry. I'm not trying to go on commercial here. All right. Little technical difficulty. It's called going to commercial. I'm back. What is AfCFTA? I think it's a new deal that basically make it easier for African countries to trade with each other, right? Think of like VIP pass that let businesses move more product across border, right? With that extra cost, all the headache and delays, and become just the world's largest free trade area, bringing together 54 countries, or 55, I should say, just to create that one massive marketplace with 1.4 billion people. That's a lot of customers. And why should you care? Look, it's simple, man. More money, more jobs by making trade smoother. The AfCFTA, I can't even say that. Just help businesses grow, man, which means more jobs and more better income for people on the continent, cheaper and better product, just without crazy taxes and extra fees. Because, and then, you get better quality goods at lower prices. I think that's the part of trading with each other. So that way, in terms of for African businesses, you go global. And for local businesses, you can now compete not just in Africa, but around the world, right? So, and how does it work? Think of AfCFTA at the end of the day like a food festival where every country bring its best dishes. Before each food stand charge different prices and how long line, right? Now the AfCFTA creates a fast lane where businesses can trade easily with fewer costs and paperwork. That's basically the goal. So basically whether it's Kenya coffee, I love Kenya coffee, man, Nigeria fashion, or whatever, or South Africa one, whatever goods, these product can move freely across the continent and beyond. And why should U.S. businesses and investors join the party? Africa Business Party. It's not because it's not just for Africans. I think it's an open invitation for U.S. investors and small businesses in the U.S. and corporations just across the world just to RSVP, join the party. What should they RSVP? What should you RSVP? Because, listen, Africa is a massive new market with 1.4 billion, meaning 1.4 billion of consumers, rising demand of middle class that just, in demand for U.S. product. U.S. product and service and technology are growing fast across the continent. So you can become a first mover advantage, I think, as an investor, where you can look at sector, like I said, like renewable energy, healthcare. And these are still developing, but I think early investors, you can definitely establish a strong presence before the markets get crowded. If we're talking about your return of investment, of course, the whole thing about access to material. Listen, this is business because you know that Africa has a lot of minerals that's needed for electrical vehicle, battery, and tech products. Businesses are happening. Also, Africa has a growing digital, economy, mobile banking. Just the whole shebang, man. And plus, there's a lot of program too, U.S. trade program. I think. What's the one that's common? Is it African Growth? African Growth and Opportunity Act, I believe, right? The AGOA, right? That offer tax breaks and easier access to African markets. So that's that. But listen, I know the bad news too, like why some might be hesitant, about doing business in Africa, and also how this whole AfCFTA is working. But it's changing now, though. But let's be real. I do agree. Let's be real. Doing business in Africa has its challenges, and some investors do hesitate because we know that, you may have infrastructure gaps, road, power supply, but these things are improving, but it still need work. Also, you got complexity when it comes to, different laws and policy across different countries that can really slow things down. A lot of political, economic instability. In some regions have a lot of instability, which make investment risky. I do agree. Of course, corruption, bureaucracy. But listen, remember at the end of the day, though, corruption's, it's not an African thing. It's a global thing. So I think that we have to turn this challenging into opportunity, because the good news is that the AfCFTA is actively tackling this issue, man. Over the past 2 years, a lot of progress has been made. For me, talking to a lot of experts, research, due diligence, traveling to, and engaging people, definitely have a lot of digital platform, man. People are making, cross-border transaction, a lot of infrastructure project improving, new road, railways. That's across the African continent. I think African government, as we know, they're not perfect, but I think working towards having more policy harmonized, basically working together, trying to create a uniform trade rules to reduce bureaucracy. So yeah, but at the end of it, the big takeaway is that the AfCFTA is not just a business deal, man. It's transformation, man, for the world, for U.S. businesses. I think it's definitely a golden opportunity to really enter one of the world's fastest growing markets. I think the key is to build partnership, understand the local landscape, trust, do your due diligence, market research, and digital can be part of the African economic rise, man. Hire local consultant, so it's a lot. But the doors are open. The opportunity are endless. At the end of the day, listen, the party is getting started. Africa is open to the world. It's not a new conversation. So for me, lastly, I specialize in guiding businesses into the African market. So I made it super simple with my workbook, basically designed to help you visualize success in Africa, understand African business dynamics, and most importantly, I believe, prepare before making your move. Because I'd rather prepare you before you make the move to enter the African market. So grab your copy today. The book is on Amazon. You won't regret it. You'll love it. So click below. Get the book. Click below. You've been consciously exposed. Peace.